Hey everybody, it is Andy here, and it is the last show of the year. Longtime listeners will know what that means. We're going to be swearing on this one. We allow ourselves one swearing show a year, and this is it. So, listener discretion is advised.
You're my darling, darling card game. You're my darling, darling format. You're my darling, darling card game. I said you're everything I ever hoped for in a hobby. And as long as I play cards. Yo, I ain't a player, I just cube a lot. Windmill slam off the rip with lots of pips, you know my mana's hot. Spinning my top, no miracle, draft picks lyrical. While you trade wreck your deck, tutor comma of empirical. Mulligan bottom, 2 mana screw. Don't catch a motherfucking attitude, no negativity inside this crew. New magic game for me, I know you see this on my pee. Burn out but gun up my mouth, we're drafting cube for free. Proxy those money cards, but fuck the tryhards. Leave your decks behind, I'm making you play with my bone shards. Your mana value too high, slots I be filling them. Bitches be trying to drop fives, my curve be killing them. Milling them with my crabs and cube, nothing is banned listed. Come get it started with bun, now peek me on Rhystic. Showed you the map, no gaps, everybody drafts. Hasbro is letting the slop flow, but cube is bootstrapped. Darling, darling card game.
I ain't a player, I just cube a lot.
You're my darling, darling format.
I'm not a player, I just cube a lot.
You're my darling, darling card game.
I ain't a player, I just cube a lot.
You're my darling, darling format.
I'm not a magic player, I just cube a lot. Are you ready to go?
I'm ready.
Then here we are at the end of another year on this final episode of 2025 of Lucky Paper Radio. My name is Andy, and I'm here as always with my co-host Anthony. Has come unstuck in time, Maddox.
I cannot believe it's been another year. I'm still pretty sure we've done this podcast for, let's say 12 months at most.
I don't want to put your aging on blast, your aging mind on blast, but you did, before we sat down to record this, ask me, hey, did all that FTX stuff with limited resources happen this year? And I was brother.
I just can't keep track of
that was a
what's
lifetime
going
ago.
on.
So much more than 1 year ago.
Yeah, here I am. I don't know what year it is or who we are or what we're doing.
Well, this year I have the leg up on you because I did listen to last year's end of the year review episode. For those that are new to the show, the last episode of the year every year is always a sort of meta-textual reference where we talk about our relationship to the game, our relationship to the show, go over our highs and lows. And last year, you were like, I listened to the one from last year.
Oh, no.
And so I said to you, I'm glad because you can tell me from just repeating myself. And that's what you said, again, off air to me as well. So we're just switched roles this year.
Perfect, because as I was walking in, it just occurred to me as we entered the podcast studio, I really should have re-listened to that. That would have been helpful because I might just repeat myself. And
I'll let
I
you
guess
know.
we're doing that. We are sort of
savagely
repeating
roast
ourselves.
you if you repeat yourself.
Perfect.
I will say a couple of funny things about that episode. You mention at some point in the episode that you're like thinking of maybe doing like a pickling project, but it seems like so long before you get to actually like taste the rewards of any of your labor that you're like, I don't know, it just seems like such delayed gratification. And now you are so deep in the pickling game.
I'm pretty deep in the pickling game. So here's a place that I am less unstuck in time because all those little projects have dates on them. So every morning when I go down to check in on how everybody's doing, I get to see like, okay, well, you're at a year and 2 months. You're at 6 months.
What's at a year and 2 months?
We tried it on air, that pickled garlic. I still have like half of that jar left. It's still
You started that a year and
changing.
2 months ago?
Yeah, last October.
Oh, okay.
Here we are in the pickling journey. Maybe we should just talk about the pickling journey because, oh boy.
And the other thing that was funny, I thought, in the episode is that I said on the episode that 12 months goes by so quickly. That's what I told myself when I started Invisalign. I'm just going to snap my fingers and it will be done. And if you listen to the show regularly, you'll know that a few episodes ago I said exactly that it was over way before I thought it would be.
It's true. I mean, and that's honestly what I was thinking of when I started these like longer term projects. And I think that's the optimistic lesson to take from this is when you're thinking of embarking on some project or some like new skill you want to learn and you're like, well, this is just going to take so long. It hardly feels like I can't even see the end of this journey. What's even the point? Time just goes by so fast and you'll have acquired that skill or done that project faster than you know.
Or lived in regret for never doing the thing.
Exactly.
As another
That's
year
the
goes
other
by
option.
and you get older and older.
another year in regret.
Yeah, don't.
I kind of want to call out just somebody by name, just be like,
Jeffrey.
Yeah, we have enough listeners now that we could just
Jeffrey,
really make
don't
some
you
days.
I know that you want to do that thing, Jeffrey, and you should just fucking do it. Oh, we also swear in this one.
Great. I was going to ask
we set this
that.
precedent last year
Perfect.
that we do the inverse of the McElroys. We swear on our last episode of the year. They do one
Love
clean,
that.
they do
Yeah,
one
yeah.
clean episode a year for the holidays, so we fucking swear on this one.
That thing we can't say because it's their own special holiday. They branded.
Oh, is it trademark now? It's like a Super Bowl. You got to say the big holiday. Well, Anthony, I have frankly a lot of highs from this year and very few, but some lows.
Yeah, I mean, I think as we have been doing these yearly check-ins, I do feel that there's just kind of a clear progression, and it's less like, oh yeah, there's this like new thing that's been happening in Cube. It's more like, well, yeah, this is kind of evolving in a natural way. The community is growing in a natural way. Yeah, I'm very curious how much I repeat myself versus how much it's like...
I'll go every time you repeat yourself.
Perfect. I love that. That makes me feel...
That's good listening for our
all my
listeners, too.
anxiety just melts away when I think about you making that sound about me saying something wrong. And on the other hand, I feel like a lot of they're less clear like highs and lows, but more just like changes. It's like, yep, that's different now, and my relationship with the game has changed enough that I don't, like, I would have seen maybe some things as big low points in the past, whereas now I'm just like, that's happening over there. Okay. Which makes it kind of its own high point.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I am not that interested in talking about Magic more broadly, because you and I have been completely checked out of Magic more broadly. And it's as simple as that. We said on last year's episode, we felt ourselves checking out and being less and less engaged, and we are. We stopped doing set reviews this year. I personally don't miss them. I know some of our readers and listeners do, but I am not that interested in talking about the new product, and I think it's all the more a testament to the depth and longevity of Cube if we can do a whole podcast and have a whole website and not talk about the new cards.
Absolutely. And I feel like we maybe could have kept doing it and kept kind of like letting it grind our gears a little bit. And I think that Ninja Turtles, for me, between Ninja Turtles and Spider-Man, would have been the absolute like, God, we should have stopped doing this a year ago. This is so stupid. I don't want to talk about fucking Spider-Man. And we didn't. And that was great. High point number 1, no Spider-Man for me.
How do you want to do this? You want to go back and forth on high points? You want to get through all your highs? Okay, let's get through all your highs first, and then I'll go through all my highs, then we'll go to lows.
Sure, yeah, start on a high note, and then leave everybody with a bitter, sour taste.
Well, we're going to leave everybody, of course, with the two things they're all waiting for: the announcement of Cube Person of the Year for 2025 and our annual Are We Going to Continue Doing the Podcast check-in.
That's this tense year for those.
Stay tuned for those two things at the end of the show.
So, I don't know how to exactly tease apart two of these things, but I think that we've seen, correct me if I'm wrong, but last year one of the big highs was just like the proliferation of sort of grassroots Cube events. Like that was the
number
big
one biggest
thing
high last year.
That really defined what Cube felt like for us in that year, where, you know, Cube had been sort of like crawling along, doing its thing for many, many years. Like the very invested players would have cubes and play them now and then. And then we saw sort of like weekly Cube nights becoming a thing that was picking up some momentum. And then it really felt like there was this inflection point of like, okay, now these are turning from little isolated towns into metropolises of Cube play, centered around these like 64 or like 32 to 150 player events. And there were just a ton of them. And I feel like this last year, we sort of maybe, at least in some regions, kind of have saturated that. And like we continue to see momentum there, which is super exciting, but it's not quite as novel. I think what does feel more novel is that a lot of those events seem to be taking on their own personality in a way that I really enjoy, and kind of engaging with how do we be an annual event and how do we like grow this community while keeping the kind of really casual, friendly, supportive, creative, like community feel. And I think that that's really been so cool to see. So I'm thinking about events like the Salt Box here in Baltimore that, you know, it doesn't even sound obviously like a Cube event. Like we have enough of a culture around this that now we can kind of be developing these inside jokes. And like this is a little bit of an inside joke about Baltimore and this like weird artifact of, I mean, honestly, also like a great little community service that we have. So there's like a nice connection there, but then also the joke with like Magic players salting off. I just think that's kind of delightful, and seeing that happening in other cities where the events are, yeah, just like really building on their own identity. And I think it's kind of funny maybe like when these events first started. I don't know if this is even something that I should say, but we're swearing on this show anyway, so like whatever. Like there was some question about can other events use the Cubecon name? And people were like, well, we want to make like Cubecon California and we want to make Cubecon Baltimore over here. That didn't happen for whatever reason. And at first it was like, well, that seems like it takes a little bit away from the community, that there's not this like cohesive naming and structure. But I think actually it's panned out to be the opposite, that I actually really, really appreciate how that like local identity and local first identity just feels a lot more special to me.
Yeah, totally. I am glad that we don't just have a million little Cubecon branches. You know, you said that like, you know, last year was the year of like growth for all these grassroots Cube events, and this is the year of like them having an identity. But I should also note that like we went from, I think, 17 or 18 events last year on our website to 32 this year, like still blowing up in terms of the number of events that are happening. And like you said, I think maybe reaching saturation in some regions, possibly, where you're not just going to be like guaranteed to sell out every event in every area, but I just welcome all these additional events. And I think people are basically finding their footing and really learning how to run them. Some of the most unique ones, I think Boston Cube Party has really found its groove and is like an event with like a culture that you keep coming back to. And I think Cube for a Cause is the one I think of in New York that really has a particular culture because of running it twice a year. And I'm sure there's other ones too. Like I'm sure that like, Joe's event in California has a lot of culture that you and I just haven't seen because we haven't been there.
Yeah, or like Inland Northwest Cube Fest, I think has like a few key things that were really, really cool about that. And I'm excited to see as that event continues how that develops, but really focusing on the casual nature where players were rewarded for kind of like weird, wacky things they weren't necessarily expecting for or couldn't optimize. People got awards for, I mean, we've talked about this in a previous episode in more detail, but like, yeah, traveling the furthest and doing wacky things in games. I feel like in some cases that can sound like, oh, this is just like goofy and cutesy, but like, no, it was also very fun. And like the event was handled very seriously. Things were running on time. And I think that riding that line of both keeping things feeling like the right level of formal where people are engaged and committed to it, but also not trying to like over optimize it and lose that kind of creative spirit is really very cool.
I think people are definitely finding the rhythm with Cube events, local Cube events, and I expect them to keep improving basically and just keep getting better and better.
I think my next high is sort of similar, and it's not something that necessarily I see as much, but I feel like I hear more and more about people just having their weekly Cube nights grow from, okay, we have a consistent 8-person pod, like this is kind of working, we're like barely making it, like having a consistent Cube fire, to more and more people just being like, yeah, we have like 30 people every week. That to me is almost even more exciting, that there's just people that are engaging in this really consistent manner, and there are people willing to step up and sort of be leaders in a lot of places to make sure that these regular Cube nights just keep firing consistently. And this, I don't have as much to speak to because I'm not engaged in those particular groups. I can speak to our own weekly Cube night that is, we had 4 pods last night, 4 full pods, which is awesome. And, everything from a kind of standard looking cube to 2-headed giant cube and the turbo cube were all happening at the same time. And it's just like, it's just great to see all this creativity and growth in the community continuing to go. And I think that like there's always some like risks when a community grows of things getting like over formalized or structuralized, and I'm just really happy with the way that everything is developing and maintaining the Cube spirit.
Yeah, I agree.
How many highs do you have even?
6.
I just have 3, but maybe I can echo some of yours. I think that I've just done a better job of stepping away from and disengaging with Magic as a product in a way that is much healthier. And I think that this is something that a lot of people struggle with in a lot of cases. Like, okay, if I used to be a competitive grinder, now I want to step down from engaging in this hobby, whether that's, a game or a sport or any kind of hobby. It can then be really difficult to stay engaged in a way that like still feels rewarding, but isn't necessarily at that same level. And like you sort of mentioned, you and I have definitely stepped away from Magic as a product. Like I don't think I went to a pre-release this year.
I maybe did one.
Yeah, that was definitely a change in pace for me. I think in past years, I was still, even if I wasn't super engaged with the new sets, I was still looking through like, okay, is there anything new for my cubes? And I haven't enjoyed doing that as much. Like, it's just not as fun. It's like, feels more like homework than it does like a fun hobby I want to engage with. And I think that it can be, I don't know. It's like, I could see myself sitting here being like, now I feel a ton of imposter syndrome of being like, we still do a Cube podcast. We still talk about Magic all the time, but I'm really not engaged in the same way. But I think that we have hopefully placed ourselves and given enough context to like, yeah, you and I are just like 2 friends talking about Cube because we enjoy it. And we are not the experts on the latest set. We're not the experts on how to like do great at your Friday Night Magic limited draft. And that's okay. Like, I think people are comfortable with that. And like, I talk to people and they're like, oh yeah, like this cube is cool. You're not going to know this 10% of cards that are from the latest sets, but that's okay. You'll like pick it up. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool that you just tolerate me sort of existing in this amount of engagement.
I will say this is in direct contradiction to your biggest high from last year, which was, quote, I'm good at Magic now.
Yeah. Now I'm bad at
you
Magic.
You were like, I'm over the imposter syndrome. You were like, I'm actually good at Magic now, so I don't feel like an imposter anymore.
Maybe that is like, I had maybe a little bit of a feeling of, okay, I've proven myself enough to have the confidence to now be like, yeah, I've kind of done that. And I know that there is like a perishability to that little bit of skill that I developed. And like, again, I know I'm not a competitive player. I'm not the level below competitive player, but maybe I'm somewhere in there. Like, I've proven myself that I am comfortable with like where I'm at. And so that just feels a little bit better. I mean, the other thing that is, I think the pickling projects have also definitely bolstered feeling like I don't need to put as much pressure on Magic as a hobby. Did we talk about this last year about like the feeling of Magic as a really important sort of opportunity for escapism, not necessarily in the sense of I want to jump into my world of dragons and fantasy world, but like this is a really hard problem to focus on while like I can sometimes barely look at and cope with what's happening in the world at large. But here's this little game I can like focus on self-improvement, focus on just like learning and math and stuff like that. And it's harder to do that when I don't feel like I can necessarily engage with like the media sphere around Magic in the same way, because I'm not keeping up with the new cards and stuff like that. So finding just a healthier balance where it's like, yeah, I can engage with this game this much, and the way that it has changed and become this like aggressive, branded, cross-promotional, I don't even know how much I want to talk about that. Like, one of the lows is that all sucks, but the high is I just am finding it easier to not care about it.
I think that's fair.
So that's where I am with Magic. How about you? What are your highs?
Now, just to be clear, are you saying that now, because you still can't cope with the realities of Hell World, you just get to look at little pickle guys?
That's exactly correct.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good. My highs, in rough chronological order, I would say, first was the Rhystic Studies video about 100 ornithopters from last year, was a very cool accomplishment, and something I would have like said, if you'd asked me a couple years ago, would have been like a dream come true to like have a video from Rhystic Studies made about a project of mine. It's funny, like, obviously that is now, as far as like the broader Magic world is concerned, my one thing, right? That's like the way I'm known now, is like the ornithopter guy, even more so than before, which is totally fine. But not much to say there other than it was like a real honor. It was a pleasure working with Sam, and it was like a dream come true to have that done. So that was definitely a high for me last year, was getting to work with him on that video and then watch the resulting thing and see the reception of it.
Obviously, it was such a great video in itself. That part of it is great. It was such a awesome celebration of a really creative project that you were able to do. And I love that like was a collaboration in itself. Like, Sam didn't just go off and like make this video. I know you like worked with him pretty closely to both like give him a lot of the context and interviews that were actually part of the video. So I think that it's so cool that that is both like one of these incredible dream come trues, but also just coming true in this really like creative, communal, collaborative, artistic way that I really love.
I can actually say a similar thing to what we said last year about our interview with Richard Garfield, which we were proud of last year for the fact that it happened. Again, a dream come true kind of thing, but we were really just proud of the actual interview itself. It was a good interview. And in the same sense, I didn't make the video, obviously, but I can say that I think not only did it happen, did a video get made about one of, our projects, but Sam did it in like the best possible way and used it as an opportunity to highlight the Cube community in a very real sense and not just talk about like one little weird project, which he always does with all of his videos. He's always so, good at providing context and, talking to the bigger picture. But yeah, not only did he do it, but it came out great. And so very proud of that, and definitely a high for last year. It's funny, I don't think you intentionally left this off your list, but I think it just doesn't affect you as much. The Patreon is by far the biggest high of the past year, right?
That's a great point.
Like, I didn't get the sense that you intentionally didn't say anything. I think, honestly, it just hasn't really affected you because, I had all the editing take off my shoulders. But the Patreon was the thing we launched in July, I think, maybe June. And
I couldn't tell you. Time is not real, for me at least.
Was something that we had talked about maybe doing for years and resisted doing for years for very good reasons, which we'll talk about in this episode, I'm sure. And when we launched it, I truly had no idea what to expect. I actually had no clue. I was like, well, we have a decent listenership. I know people are very invested in the show, but also we had no plans to like paywall any of our Cube content, which is a big reason people sign up for these things. We didn't have like a existing community we were going to be like allowing people access to, which is another thing about the whole like Discord thing. I feel like, maybe 6 years ago, like Patreon was like this new thing. And if you had a Patreon and had a following, you could get like a ton of money. And now I feel like people are kind of saturated. And it's like, well, now everything's asking me for a Patreon, support. And so I also kind of wondered, like, are we too late to the game for this to make any sense? But we managed to, right out of the gate, just exceed the goal we had for fully subsidizing paying an editor, paying Matthew, our editor. Thank you, Matthew, for being part of the team, as it were. And I mean, we don't talk about the Patreon on the show that much because I don't want to be like weird, and there's no reason to like plug it a bunch because it is performing the job it is meant to do, which is subsidizing the cost of editing. So it's not like we're trying to grow it or anything. But I do want to take this opportunity to just truly say thank you to everybody. Again, like from the bottom of my heart, it has changed the second half of this year for me in a like massive way, giving me so much more time back in my life. And also because we exceeded the goal of, paying just Matthew, allowed us to pay Parker for a bunch of his writing contributions. Parker's been writing like a madman on the website. If you haven't looked at any of the recent articles, you should definitely go check out the articles because Parker's been churning out basically like a great article every week, essentially since midsummer. So being able to actually like, pay him something for his work has been huge. And all the good things I could have expected from a Patreon and none of the bad things I was maybe worried about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and we did, like you said, go back and forth a lot about it and had some concerns about like what a whole bunch of stuff. But it's like, it was just so validating that a bunch of people were just immediately just like, yeah, we love you guys and we want to support you. And that was incredibly validating. And yeah, I mean, to your point, it didn't like affect my day to day so much. Like, I'm so glad that it has like made the show sustainable for you as well. Like, I'm talking about how my relationship to Magic feels more sustainable. I'm glad that your relationship to the show now is more as well. And I'm really excited that now we also get to put some of that money to other like things that we see are valuable in the community as well.
Which is my next high, which is in some ways an even brighter high for me than the Patreon itself, which is the Cube Fellowship, which is something I took a lot of the time I was spending working on editing the show. And right after we managed to hire Matthew and actually start subsidizing that, I spent a couple months really with all that time working on figuring out the boundaries of this Cube Fellowship thing, which is just our attempt to give money to the community, to people that deserve it, to people that are active in online communities or just like really important voices in the Cube community and help them afford to go to Cube events all over the country or world. And I can say that this year we managed to give $2,534 to members of the Cube Fellowship to get them to go to events. And that was across 6 people. I guess I should say not everybody that's on the Cube Fellowship wants to be on the website, so that's not comprehensive, but 6 people publicly that people know about. And yeah, it's everything I could have possibly wanted that project to be. It's like very simple. We have an application out and people write an application, and if it makes sense, we try and help them get to an event. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like in some ways, it's not talked about very much, but like we're just doing the thing that I wanted to do if we managed to exceed the amount of money we needed every month and just kind of quietly doing the thing. And I'm proud of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really incredible thing that you've put a lot of work into and just a lot of care. And I think that's just such an awesome thing you're doing.
We already talked about the continued proliferation of grassroots Cube events, which is another one of my highs, but we covered that pretty thoroughly. A pretty small high, but worth noting, is that we did do a second run of the Playmat this year. If you listened to last year's episode, you'll remember my long saga about how awful the fulfillment of the first round of the Playmat was and how I probably was never going to do it ever again. And I didn't. We had our buddy Cal at Stitcher Supply do all the fulfillment for that project and managed to do a second run, and a lot of people that wanted a Playmat got one. And so that was like basically no work on us. Just we handed some files off to Cal. I spent like an afternoon making some slight modifications to it so that it would be unique and different from the first run of the Playmat. I'm just glad that more people got the Playmat that they wanted, because I've gotten a lot of emails by people that missed that run at the Playmat and were sad they couldn't have one. So a small high there. And also I will say, personally, a high for me just being able to, again, give up more control. This is a good year of me giving up control over things.
Healthy.
Because you know me quite well, and I can be a little bit of a control freak in the sense that I like things done the proper way. Correctly. And oftentimes I feel I cannot trust any external entities to do things the proper way. And so, yeah, if you rewind 3 years, the idea that I would give the editing of the show to somebody else, who has done an incredible job, by the way, all credit to Matthew, and, let somebody else do like the full fulfillment for a product of ours, like things I would not have expected, I would be willing to give up sort of my close watchful eye over. But I'm glad I did. And I think it's been good for the listeners as well.
And it's just a really cool playmat. I'm glad that a lot of people have gotten a lot of joy from that.
My last high is just some of the personal relationships I've built in the Cube community this year have really gone much deeper and much further beyond just like friends I play Magic with or talk about Cube with online. And, that's personal for me, so I'm not going to tell you all about it. But it's been a big bright spot in my year just broadly to have some of these relationships really grow and become deeper and more meaningful. And I'm really grateful for this weird format for connecting me with people that have the weird same special interest, right? Like I was actually talking with my therapist this week about how, I really value community, and I value community in like different ways. Like I am really close with all my neighbors, and I love that we have the kind of community where it's like you can get a cup of flour if you need a cup of flour, have someone come over and watch your kid if you have to like run an errand so someone can watch your kid for 30 minutes, right? We just have that kind of very local community, and I recognize...
It's an enviable neighborhood.
And I also recognize that like I love these people I live around, and also if they moved... we're not going to be friends anymore. Sorry. Like, maybe we'll send, Christmas cards or catch up every once in a while, but like our friendship is based on our proximity, right?
Which is like valid. That is important. Proximity is a big thing.
And I think it's hard to say that without some people thinking I'm like diminishing them, like, oh, they're not real friends because they're only friends of convenience. But it's like, no, like the proximity allows for a type of community that it would not be possible otherwise. And so it just changes your relationships with those people when they're in that particular context. And just as much as I value that, I also really value things like the online Cube community for being a place where I can connect with every weirdo out there that has the exact same niche interests and the exact same sort of like, is interested in these things, such like I have conversations with people that have so much overlap in how they think, how they move through the world, what they're interested in. And it doesn't matter where they're located. They could be in far-flung reaches of the world, and we can have that kind of community, which is like people coming together for entirely different reasons.
It's kind of a different kind of proximity, and I think in both cases, but maybe more so in the Cube community, there's also a natural sort of selection process where you end up selecting for the kind of people that, yeah, like you say, have that shared way of thinking. And like Cube is just such an attractor for people that are creative, but also like rationally oriented and community driven. And like that intersection is really, really makes for a cool group of people, I think.
For sure. And there's a lot of like weird commonalities that I don't think are coincidences. Like there's a ton of people that are into like crafting and making other cool creative stuff. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, you're into Cube. Of course you're into like making cool creative stuff. Or people that are into cooking. That is like seems a huge overlap with the Cube community. I don't think that's entirely coincidence. I think it's just that a certain type of person is drawn to this little niche hobby. And I'm very grateful for the community we've made through it and the relationships that have grown because of that. Should we get to lows?
Wait, I have 2 bonus highs that I thought of.
Bonus high.
Because I checked the dates on some things. I want to say the broadcast shuffle is another one of my highs from 2025.
I was going to mention that if you didn't bring it up.
I checked and I published this January 13th of 2025, so
you
that
said on
counts.
The last episode, I have this shuffling article I'm going to try and publish soon.
Oh, that's perfect. Great. We can follow up on that. I think there's sort of like 2 moments that really encapsulate that. So yeah, the broadcast shuffle, I was frustrated with the way shuffling worked at Cube events, and I was like, we got to do this better.
You mean the way shuffling didn't work at Cube events?
Exactly. So I don't know. I like just sat down, did a bunch of like simulations to try and like prove to myself my own hypothesis of is there a better way, and spent a lot of time writing this article and trying to make it like as short and clear as possible.
And beautiful visualizations that everyone still loves to this day.
I'm pretty happy with those visualizations. And there's like 2 moments that sort of encapsulate, I think, my experience with this entering the world. The first being I think it was at Vertex Philadelphia, when it was either Greg or Bones announced like, okay, welcome to the event. Here's how we're going to do it. You're going to get your cubes. We're going to try the broadcast shuffle for the first time. And I was like, I just wanted to like crawl under the table because I was so embarrassed and like so terrified of like, what if this doesn't work? And like, I was confident in the theory, but there's the question of how does this actually translate to human beings who need to learn it and make it work on a table. And maybe this is just going to be a flop and I'm going to bring a great shame to our podcast. And it worked pretty well. Like we iterated. And I
was told they were chanting your name in this room, so I think it worked better than pretty well. I was sick for this event, and I'm still sad about it.
We like tweaked it, and like after a couple of events, enough people knew it that somebody at any given table knew what was going on and could sort of be the coordinator. And now it's kind of sort of become the accepted thing. And the second moment that I think is really sort of indicative of my experience here was when we were at
in the Northwest Cube Fest.
No, in DC.
Capital Cube Champs.
Capital Cube Champs was another for-charity Cube event that Lincoln's been running, which has been awesome. When the judge comes by and says, well, does anybody here know how to broadcast shuffle? And a couple people in the pod just like look at me and laugh. And I'm just like, this is great. Like, I love that this is happening and has gone so much bigger than me that I'm not even recognized. I was happier in the I was invisible example.
Sure, yeah. Sorry you can't be invisible because you're so great.
I mean, it is just really satisfying to make a thing or like solve a problem and just be like, yeah, this works now. And like made the events run smoother.
Yeah, I mean, it's in like the grand scheme of things a pretty small contribution to like the collective knowledge of how to run a Cube event, but a meaningful contribution nonetheless. Like you said, I feel like that knowledge has been absorbed into the like distributed community hive mind now, and you could just fuck off and stop dealing with Cube forever and just become a pickle man, and the broadcast shuffle would live on.
Sort of related to that, I also worked a lot on these two little projects, the List Formatter and List Differ, which, they're just, again, like this is a little web app that solves some problems. One of the key ones is just like, I have a Scryfall search and I want to get the list of card names in plain text so I can paste it into Cube Cobra or get a specific CSV that I can import into Moxfield or whatever. I kind of like built these projects largely for myself, but then just made them accessible because why not? And I don't like have analytics. It's like we don't make anything from it. But increasingly, people have come to me with like small feature requests.
I do have analytics if you want to know.
I don't really care. But it's like
I've not looked at them.
Over time, the like cumulative like, okay, this has like really legitimately helped a lot of people who would have done a lot of copying and pasting, but now didn't have to. It's sort of like reached a mass where it's like, yeah, I feel like this is, again, a small project that is really useful and helpful to people. And that is really, really satisfying to me.
You've probably saved an order of magnitude more time than it took you to do, which is an important line to cross as a person who likes to build tools to save time.
Yeah.
You better actually end up saving more time than you spent building it.
Points at the XKCD comic that explains this. So yeah, I mean, those little things, those projects that are just like seeing small but meaningful improvement in other people's lives is the most rewarding thing to me.
Any more bonus highs?
Nope, those are the two I thought of while you were talking about
Great.
yours.
All right, let's talk lows. I have one very dumb low for the year. We can just get out of the way. I am still sad about the stupid Klug Alter getting drawn on. It's still a bummer. Yeah. I was not able to find the person that did it. I thought, and maybe this is me just, overestimating our reach, but I thought like once this goes out there, like we have to know somebody that knows the person that, did this altar. And I got a description of him. Apparently he was a tall, curly brown-haired man.
You sure you want to put out this all points bulletin?
Yes, a tall, curly brown-haired man that specifically only had a pass for Saturday to Cubecon. I assume, therefore, must be at least semi-local, but nobody knows actually who this person was. And to be clear, I am not trying to find this person so I can harm them.
But you are trying to find them.
No, I truly just want them to alter an ornithopter in the cube so that I don't have the problem, which I still currently have, which is that there's one fewer alters than there are 3.0 drafts of the cube. Yeah, I mean, I think I've come to peace with it as much as I will, but it is still a huge bummer, and it did happen this year. So that was definitely a low for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I still apologize for not having a more fun reaction on the podcast, but I was legitimately just like, what am I looking like? What? But now, I saw like somebody else was posting something about Ornithopter Cube, and it was in a pile of cards, and I was like, yeah, that sure is an artifact of this.
At this point, like people have reached out with like, hey, I think maybe you could get the Sharpie off if you tried this, and it probably wouldn't damage the underlying painting, and like, if you told me I could 100% remove it.
Okay, what you need is you need Eric with his specific paints to do just like a layer of white on a card and then Sharpie it and then leave it for, I don't know, a month and then test it.
Well, anyway, it has to be a card specifically from Mirrodin as well because the printing has changed over the years. Anyway, I don't think I would fix it now even if it was easy to do so because it is just part of the story of the cube. It would be a loss at this point, I think, to get rid of the drawing on top of the Klug Alter. But if I could change it, if I could go back in time and change it, I would, but I can't, so now I gotta live in the future. Like, I gotta live in the world in which I live, which is that it's here now. And I honestly am, as I sit here today, more upset about the fact that I don't have a solution to the being one alter short problem. That actually bothers me more.
And you have problems with control? Is that...
Okay, buddy.
It's a wonderful work of art. It's the Cube World's erased de Kooning drawing, so we can all just appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah.
Except... I didn't really like de Kooning, whereas Eric Klug is a brilliant artist, so...
Eric Klug better than de Kooning. You heard it here first. Another low for me is I went to Cubecon this year. You did not. Mm-hmm. Nobody else from our local playgroup did except for Andrew. We had one other person going. In previous years, we have brought 14, 17 people to Cubecon, and our Playgroup's attitude towards that event has definitely changed. And that's not just us. I think a lot of people's attitude towards Cubecon as an event changed. And a lot of friends that I previously would have said are people that I see every year at Cubecon just chose not to go this year. And I actually don't think it's because Cubecon did anything. Like, it's not like they changed some policy and everyone's like protesting or anything like that. I think it's truly that there's just so many more local Cube events now that no longer is this one event necessary as like a tent pole to hold up the entire community. While I'm so glad we have the grassroots Cube events, it is a loss that there is no longer like the one thing we can all agree to put our collective social energy towards to like making the one great event. That's a bummer to me, I think.
Definitely. I mean, there are, like we sort of alluded to about sort of like the culture and communities, like the decentralization has so many advantages, but it does have the loss that there isn't like, okay, I know I'm going to go to this event and be able to see a bunch of people that I'm otherwise just never going to see. And that's definitely... that is a part that disappoints me, is like, there are a bunch of people I just didn't see this year and might not next year if I don't go again, might not next year even if I do go to Cubecon.
That was a big part of why we went to Inland Northwest Cube Fest, is there were a group of people that are West Coast friends of ours that were like not going to be at Cubecon, and it's like, well, we really want to see you, so what about this other event? I would not trade it. Like, I like the world we are in now better. I want more events. I want people to be able to access them more easily. I don't want people to have to fly across the country to attend a Cube event, but it is a loss. And I felt it. Cubecon was great in many ways, but also a little bit of a bummer because I was like, well, this has definitely changed. Like, this is not what it used to be, which was this, like, everybody all coming together to kind of, like, put their energy behind one thing.
Is that a little bit overstated, though? Like, the event still happened. The event was still huge. It was still the biggest Cube event, right? Like,
to be clear, the event was great. It just meant for me, personally. Like, for my own personal relationship to it. Like, it is not what it was for us at one time. Like, when we started going to Cubecon, we made those jackets, and like I started making patches for every year we went, and I was like, I'll make patches for every year, and in 20 years we'll all have jackets with 20 patches on them. And it's like, no, we don't do that anymore. You know, it's just like the world has changed.
But I think we're putting our energy to different places. I mean, we both put a lot of that energy into Saltbox and like supporting Max and running that event. And
I went to more Cube events this year than last year.
And we went to more events, so
I don't even know how many I went to. I can't even, like, counting them would be difficult to figure it out.
I don't know how to feel about that. I guess, to me, the bigger loss is, and I mean, maybe this applies to Magic in general in a similar way. When, like, Cubecon was just the biggest thing, it was like, this is the obvious choice. If I met somebody who was getting into Cube, you know, maybe there's somebody that's overseas and is interested in, like, meeting up with the Cube community, I could just say, like, this is it. This is the place. And I think that, there's just like always, there is no correct answer between centralization and decentralization. They both have advantages.
Right.
But
I mean,
not
you and I are
able to
both
say,
big decentralization stands, but there are reasons that so many things are centralized.
Yeah. It is a bummer, like, and there were people I met at Inland Northwest Cube Fest that were like, oh yeah, I'm excited to go to Cubecon, will I see you there? And it's like, I don't think so, probably not this year. It would be nice to have that just like as a huge anchor, but yeah, I mean, just getting there is difficult, and there's just so many other events. It felt like, at least for a year, just doing it differently, and maybe I'll go next year. It's not like I have a stance against it. I don't know, it's complicated.
I don't think anybody is like opposed to Cubecon, but I do think a lot of people this year found themselves looking at the costs and time involved to get to Madison, which, no offense, Madison, but your airport doesn't fly to anywhere. It is super tiny, so you got to fly to like Chicago and drive, and that's like a whole thing. And just kind of decided, like, yeah, that plus the actual expense of like having to get a Gamehole Con pass in addition to getting a Cubecon pass, and it was just kind of like, you know, this is not worth it if I can also just go to another Cube event that's closer and cheaper and, you know, has a lot of what the appeal that that main event has.
Or even not closer, but like, okay, we'll go to Minneapolis one year, and then we'll go to Spokane another year, and then we'll go to some part in California.
It was cheaper to go to Spokane than it was to go to Madison, and honestly, the travel time was basically the same.
Using it as an opportunity to see more parts of the country and just like different cities. I think like, I want to call this a pro. This is a high that there's just like...
I'm not saying that, like, you know, the low is Cubecon. Like, again, Cubecon is great. It's thriving. I hope they continue to do it and it continues to be successful. The low is simply like our play groups and like my local and remote friends' relationship to Cubecon is just no longer the same as it used to be.
That's fair.
The last low for me, we can't really talk about in detail, but we have had some difficulties in our play group socially this year. Just, you know, personal things between people that are not appropriate to air in any way, but have certainly occupied a lot of my emotional time and energy, and also reminded me that, like, this thing is not a given. Like, it is something that we, like, have to maintain and is kind of, like, always a little bit tenuous. That, and also our, like, LGS moving to a new space, which is maybe not quite as good for us as the old space was, just in terms of like where the tables are and how much space is available. I have felt a tension this year where like keeping the playgroup sort of centralized has felt like work in a way that it hasn't felt in the past, which is maybe just, a byproduct of our size. Like I said, like we are now having 4 to 5 pods every week, which just takes up a ton of space. Takes up a ton of space wherever we are going. The LGS moved and had to institute a table fee, which we lost players. Some players just don't come out anymore because now there is a fee to actually sit at the tables, and that's a real cost. And then, some of these other sort of interpersonal dynamics just being what they are, it's been a bummer.
The theme of 2025 is centralization versus decentralization. I think you're right, and I put this down as well in sort of a slightly different angle that, it's just definitely, as the community grows, it does take a little bit more deliberate maintenance. And I feel like, it was really, really easy when we were at 8 players that if 2 more people show up at the last minute, it's like, cool, we just grow to a 10 pod, like this cube supports 10 people, not a problem. When we have a bigger group, like it actually it was weird. It got easier in the middle there where we had a little bit more flexibility. And now I feel like when we have 4 pods, it's like, okay, well, another 6 people show up at the last minute. And now we have to like completely reconfigure stuff. And we have more constraints because the 2-headed giant cube like really needs an even number. And this cube, somebody like it's their... there's just a lot more constraints. And again, I feel like we're saying this about everything. Like, I wouldn't have it another way. I'd rather grow the Playgroup. I'd rather have more people involved. But it does mean the logistics are more difficult. And it does mean that, there's more risk of interpersonal challenges from coming up because every new person you add, there's compounded number of relationships, right?
Yeah, and I guess also, like, maybe what I'm also responding to is I feel like now on Tuesdays, I feel like a mild amount of stress before the drafts begin.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, do we have enough space? Does everyone have enough room? Where like before, I was very confident that like if a new player showed up, they had like a good experience because I personally was like, hey, welcome to Cube Night. Here's where we're drafting. What do you want to play? And now I feel like I'm kind of running around a little bit and like just trying to make basic stuff happen. And like people show up and draft and they leave and I'm like, I don't know who that person was. I didn't say hi to them. I hope someone did.
That is an inflection point. Like I no longer necessarily feel like... no, it's not a feeling. I no longer know everybody that's at Cube Night every week, and that is cool. Maybe this is harder for you than for me, but I feel a little bit less in control, which is, I don't know. Maybe I want to put another thing in the high category, which is that, like, it's more difficult as the group goes. So many people in our group are so awesome about making it work that it is like much easier than it could be. And like even somebody who was playing for the first time last night commented to me, he's like, oh, well, I guess it seems like, he's like, you're in charge. And I'm like, yeah. And he was like, well, it does seem like this kind of just runs itself. And I'm like, yeah, kind of to a large part. It's like,
that's the idea.
That person has a cube and they're making sure everybody is set up and like flagging somebody down if they need more players or if they have too many players. And like a lot of people are contributing a lot of that effort and decentralizing that management that has to happen, but that doesn't fully counteract that there is more of it as the group grows. And I think, like talking about the space, it's legitimately difficult for a business when it's like, we're going to be here not, 5 people every night, which is like a good steady trickle of business. We're going to be nothing and then 30 people once a week. Like
and
that is
30 to 40 people and all tables of 8.
It is a little bit difficult.
It's for sure. Like it is a very difficult ask for any establishment. And I think the new space is working out great for No Land Beyond broadly, it seems. I think they're having a lot of success there, and maybe the bar is even better positioned than it was before.
They got snacks. I love these things.
Oh, these are all great, but also there's just fewer 8-person tables, and they are like not sort of set up in a way that is as easy to manage. Like now we are kind of separated and we're not in the same room anymore, so it's harder to like make sure that everybody's got what they need in each pod and every pod's got the right number of players. You got to kind of run back and forth. And these are small things, but I have definitely felt it in our local play group, and it's a small low. It's just like things change, right? And this is just like how it is going to be now. And I'm sure lots of people listening are like, don't you complain about having too many people for Cube Night. That's
a fair thing to acknowledge. That definitely
for
is.
Sure.
Like I said, I wouldn't have it the other way. I think that the bigger group is a lot of fun.
Oh, I mean, I would maybe have had No Land Beyond not move.
The new space is nice.
Nicer to look at. It is, I think, worse for us in basically every way.
Maybe. It'll be nicer in the summer when there's outdoor space.
We'll see. Fingers crossed.
Spring. How about spring and fall?
Those are my lows for the year, which pretty minimal, all things told. A big absent low, a low that is missing from this list is any kind of like weird feelings around the Patreon. Like I don't find myself feeling weirdly beholden to people like I thought maybe I would if they were giving us money. I don't find myself ever thinking about like, how do we make this number go up and not make it go down? Like it is not a thing I think about. I don't worry about that even a little bit. I don't want to run this operation like a business, and it very much is now. Like we make all of our operating costs and income clear, and I can just tell you right now, like last year we made $15,859.81 from Patreon, Playmat sales, Cube Fellowship pin sales. I'm sorry, I do have one more minor low.
Oh, no.
It's minor, and it's really just I didn't think about this thing. I've sold so many fewer Cube Fellowship pins than I expected, which is only a low because I bought so many. I was thinking about it, and like in hindsight, it makes total sense, right? Like we sold 360 playmats the first time we did the run. The second run actually turned out to be exactly 500. It was 498, and then one of Cal's friends was like, "You mean if I buy two, it'll be 500 exactly?" And so it became 500 exactly.
Nice.
I thought like, okay, that's a pretty expensive thing. And if we sell pins for like less than that, maybe some portion of those people will want to buy a pin. And the pin, this is the pin we made. We make two pins, basically where all the proceeds go directly to the Cube Fellowship. So that money goes right into a fund that we pay out to people going to Cube events, guaranteed, no matter what. I thought this would be a really popular thing. But the thing I realized after like the response was pretty tepid was like, oh, the vast majority of our listeners probably still have never been to a Cube event. Like, they themselves have not been to a Cube event. They are listening to this show. That's probably their biggest exposure to, like, the Cube community as a place. Maybe they're on the Discord or the Reddit or something, but, like, the idea that they would, you know, essentially buy an overpriced pin to support somebody else going to a Cube event when they themselves have not been able to go to a Cube event is, like, that's a weird ask. It's a weird thing.
Yeah. For context and framing, because I feel like you have also not necessarily promoted or like...
I have a little bit. I don't know. I have maybe not promoted as much as I could. I don't know.
The idea is basically like, yeah, you're buying a pin that costs way more than a pin costs because it's just a donation. You get the pin as a way to reflect that you... I don't know, share our values. You think this pin looks sick, so you want to put it on your magic bag.
Yeah, and then it's also like it's a logo, but there's no text on it or anything. The idea being that it's like a little kind of secret symbol that if you know, you know. If you see that on someone's bag, you know that they're like, you know, invested in the Cube community in a real way because they've given back to it, you know? I liked the idea a lot. I thought it was a good idea. And then in hindsight, I was like, yeah, I guess actually most people don't get to go to these anyway. Like, there's still a minority of people that get to go to Cube events at all. And so it's a weird ask to be like... For now. So anyway, if you want a Cube pin... I've got a gazillion of them. I've got so many, which also was just a minimum order thing, and it made sense to order a couple more. But yeah, I've got those. It was definitely a little bit like, I think I even maybe told you at some point, I'm like, if I sell all these pins before the end of the year, we're going to have a problem. I'm going to have like too much money to give away, and I'll have like a tax liability. And boy, that is not even remotely close to what happened, which is probably good.
Great.
But yeah, definitely like, I think I misread the room on that a little bit. But hey, if you want a Cube Fellowship pin, link in the show notes.
They do look cool. I have a related low, just sort of like talking about maintenance, and this is pretty minor, but like with the website, I definitely feel some maintenance that I should be doing more. Like, It was great that we made the draft page, like all the different draft formats. I know that like people have requested some updates to things there, and I want to add like the stone soup, and I want to add a more thorough explainer on Battle Box and like fix a lot of things that have, you know, just evolved and changed, and people have invented more draft formats. And so it's such a funny thing of like, I know I want this thing to exist. Am I also going to be willing to do the support to keep expanding it and keep it up to date in the future? And I don't think the answer should be in a lot of cases like, I won't do it because I don't feel like doing the maintenance. Like, I think it was still a good thing to do, and I think that specifically we will definitely come back to and improve and update that. But there are a lot of projects that we've started, and I'm definitely starting to feel a little bit like it's a bunch, and some things are not quite as up to date and polished as I would like it to be.
I feel that. I also, as every year passes, like I think you and I are old, and we've been building websites for a long time.
Don't you tell me that.
And I think that we, for the average web developer, make very savvy decisions with regards to the like future maintainability of projects from a technical standpoint. But as every year passes, I'm like, yeah, Gatsby's not really as much of a thing anymore. And it'd be great if this project was on next, but that would be like a huge amount of work to get it on next. And, you know, this thing it's a big website now. It's a very big website. There's a lot of stuff on there. You know better than anybody because you've built all the complicated stuff. But it's just a lot. There's a lot on that website. It's in no danger of like going offline anytime in the foreseeable future.
It's not going to go offline. It will eventually become more difficult to update. But like,
right.
You know, in 5 years. But again, going back to what we said at the beginning, 5 years sounds like an impossibly long time. We don't have to worry about anything that's going to happen 5 years from now. And yet we've been doing this podcast for, about a year, probably.
So yeah, I definitely feel that a little bit too. And it is like the kind of most boring, thankless work. Like in order for us to like make technical improvements to the site to like make the future maintainability better, nobody would ever notice any difference, and we would have to spend hundreds of hours probably. I don't know.
It'd be bunch.
It'd be a
I mean,
bunch.
maybe a better example is like the cube map and commander maps. I know we haven't updated that for a while, and there are technical reasons with some of those outside of what we have control over that makes that difficult, but yeah, that does kind of bum me out that we haven't been able to keep those up to date, because I spent so much time on the commander map. That was a big project, and it was really rewarding. It was really just like I learned a lot about computers in a way that didn't make me want to claw my eyes out, which a lot of times learning about computers does make me want to do. And I don't know, maybe I'll apply that knowledge again to something else in the future, but maybe not.
I think about this. I added a community page recently to the website, and people were like, "Oh, why don't you have like a map with all of the like local Cube discords that want to be
That's
public?"
The thing. And
it's
I even
like
started working on that.
I could do that, but then I have to maintain the thing, and I just know that thing in particular, like here's a bunch of Discord invite links that are to specific play groups that will become out of date so quickly, and could like harm is a strong word, but like if you end up clicking some link to some Discord that is like defunct and there actually is a play group in that city, now you don't think there is anymore because that Discord URL doesn't work or whatever. It could be a thing that actually like causes problems if it is out of date. And so I'm not taking that on because that's too much.
That's really true. And I mean, somebody had started gathering a list, like actually doing the hard work of finding all those links. And I did a little bit of like, let's build a map and plot them on the map and this will look cool. And then came back to it a few months later and it's like, ooh, already a bunch of these links are broken. I know like some of these organizers have left the community for one reason or another. So it's like, yeah, that is a thing where it just takes so much maintenance, and I'd love to see it.
Yeah, if someone else wants to do that work, by all means.
Do you want to talk about Magic the Gathering at all?
We did. It's fine. I don't know. I truly, it does not cause me any pain on a day-to-day basis. I'm not paying attention. Here's the thing I'll tell you, which I think is interesting. I watch a couple of competitive Smash players on YouTube, one of whom is famous for being like a huge fan of the Final Fantasy series. And occasionally on like his Super Smash Bros. Streams, he will allude to the fact that like a thing he does on his stream is like get packs of Final Fantasy, the set from Magic the Gathering, and just open them, because if you are not a competitive trading card game player, you don't think of them as game pieces, you think of them as weird collectibles, and so he just like gets them to open them. And there's two things that are interesting about this. One is that relationship, because no Magic players that I know at all just get cards to open them, like treat them like an actual loot crate.
That is false. Many Magic players do that.
People do because they want to have the cards to play with. Some people do buy a lot of packs and open them, but like they're doing it because they want to have the cards to play with. Like
people also just like gambling. Like I've seen people just like literally sit down, crack an entire box, and then sell the rares to the shop and be like, yep, that was my activity.
That's
people
crazy.
Do these things.
Okay, sure. Maybe,
I don't see that often, and these are not people I'm close to. But
maybe more people do it than I am aware of. But like, I still feel like fundamentally for Magic players, like they are also game pieces. Like it is two things, and I don't know. I'm always very critical of the like loot box lottery mentality, like playing with your brain chemicals, behavior, but it was always kind of connected to this game piece thing. And for him, it's just not. Like, I don't think he knows the rules of the game and can play. Maybe he does. The other thing I thought was very interesting is he calls it the Final Fantasy trading card game. I genuinely don't know if he knows that it is Magic and it exists outside of that set.
I was just going to joke, well, I wonder what he would say if he turned one of those cards over, but like a third of them don't even have a Magic pack on them. So,
like, he might, for example, think that like Magic has like kind of like a company that makes lots of trading card games and they each have their own separate rule sets or something. Like, I don't know what he thinks about it, but it's been so interesting to get little tiny glimpses of like, he's like, I'm going to, crack packs of the Final Fantasy trading card game. And I'm like, what?
I mean, fucking Mr. Beast did this. I mean, maybe he does it more than this. Anytime I learn something about Mr. Beast, it's more than I need to know. But like, he was just cracking packs on stream just to try and open the One Ring. Like, this is absolutely a mentality that many people have, and they are absolutely encouraging.
Well, but here's the thing. I think, maybe I'm wrong about this, to your point. I don't actually know, but to me,
we are very out of touch.
We're very out of touch by design, but to me, my sense is that mentality of like, this is just a thing to be cracked and like it's a commodity is so much more present in people that are drawn in by Universes Beyond and by the sort of IP crossovers. Like, it's the people that don't care about Magic, but really care about Final Fantasy or really care about this gimmick about the One Ring. Those are the people that are drawn in. And that's like the most concise way to describe my disillusionment with the direction of Magic is like, you're prioritizing those people over us, over the players. And like, yeah, sure, you're selling a fuck ton of packs. You're making bank off of these fucking idiots that are just cracking packs because they think it's fun to do and, whatever. Like, that makes me so critical of any time that Mark Rosewater is like, well, you bought the thing, so you must like it. It's like, bitch, no. Like, that's not the thing to look at. Sales are not indicative of quality of your creative output.
Yeah. I feel like I had a thought somewhere in the middle of that, and then I kind of lost it because I can't verify that, but that is a compelling narrative that people that are coming to the game through IP crossovers just have that kind of mentality. And I buy it, and I agree that, like, I will say that this is a low. So we are not necessarily engaged with Magic. I'm not following preview season very carefully, but I'm still seeing a bunch of new Magic cards. Like, we're still playing the game.
I'm kind of excited about Lorwyn.
It's still there. I still see people on social media posting about it constantly. Like, I'm still exposed to a lot of Magic stuff, and it does all just kind of really bum me out. I do hear a lot of, like, well, this is fine because it's selling well, and isn't it great that new people are being brought into the game? And there's a lot of arguments that are like sort of compelling, but if you had told me like, oh, well, we invented Hot Pockets, and you like pizza, now so many people are buying Hot Pockets, and everybody's getting exposed to pizza. Isn't this great that more people are getting into pizza? I would be like, fuck you. This doesn't have what I like about pizza. This doesn't have what I want to share with them, and they're not engaging with it in a way that I think is artistic and valuable and self-fulfilling.
You're not offering them that anymore. It's not even an option. Yeah.
And, like, I just generally have so much distaste, like, outside of Magic, outside of games, have so much distaste for marketing and crossovers and like all these mashups. It's so much just like a barrage of crap that I feel like I'm constantly, I don't know, I can't see anything good in it. And even if you're like, oh, well, wouldn't it be great if Magic crossed over with something that you really liked? Wouldn't that be great for you? And I'm like, no.
That's the worst possible thing.
They have the Magic cookbook, and I'm not fucking buying the Magic cookbook. I'm going to go to a fucking expert in cooking. Because I have some
There's a Magic cookbook?
There are multiple Magic cookbooks.
Like from Wizards of the Coast?
I don't want to dunk too much on it because I know the person who did it is like trying hard and making this fun little book, but also you're not Jacques Pepin. I'm not going to listen to you. Sorry.
Lots of well-meaning creative people are employed by big companies doing stupid shit. It doesn't absolve the stupid shit.
Okay, so we covered that. I think that's good.
Yeah, it's just so interesting how many decisions come back to like that narrative of like, yeah, all the fucking crazy printings of things, which as a player are awful. It's so fucking hard to tell what a card is anymore.
It's legitimately like I pretty much stopped collecting cards. Like I was pretty engaged with collecting, but it was just too logistically difficult to enter cards into a card tracker. So I was just like, I don't know. Right. This stack of cards is just accumulated to the point where I just don't feel like acquiring more cards anymore.
It's terrible for players because they're like way less legible. You don't know what a card looks like anymore. It's terrible for the
about the hangerback walker or whatever it is in the Turbo Cube.
It's terrible for all of the like infrastructure for like Scryfall of like trying like that's essential infrastructure that Magic relies on effectively, that they're just making their lives so fucking difficult. It's difficult for all of the third-party resellers that sell singles to like categorize all these things. It's a huge fucking nightmare for all those people so that some guy can be like, I'm opening a Final Fantasy trading card game pack and we're going to see if we get a foil Cloud. And it's like, glad numbers going up, Hasbro.
It's okay. In the
Can't
future,
wait for one person to listen to this episode and be like, I haven't listened to the show in 6 months and I pop back in to see if they were more positive now. And they're so negative these days.
Listen to a different episode. And also the one guy that's going to come and be like, actually, Magic's been doing crossovers forever. Haven't you seen Arabian Nights and the Frankenstein card? And it's like...
Who's going to say that? That's dumb.
It is very dumb.
That's very stupid.
People love saying it. And it's like, I didn't say I liked the Frankenstein card. I didn't say that was okay. I feel neutral about it.
I did realize I didn't say one thing. I mentioned our income this past year. I want to clarify that in addition to our $15,859 of income, we also had $15,253 of expenses. Just so we're clear. And a lot of those expenses are paying Matthew, paying Parker, paying the Cube Fellowship people. But we aim to basically run a like net profit zero operation. And we got within a few $100 this year of doing that. And
nice.
It was kind of hard at the end of the year because I got that paycheck for all the Playmat sales. And I was like, ugh, got to figure out who deserves this money right now. But we managed to get there.
An enviable position.
I think we should move on, Anthony, to a positive note.
Okay.
Cube Person of the Year 2025. For those that don't know, last year, Anthony, in an offhanded comment, said, because we mentioned Ollie multiple times in multiple episodes, back to back, just mentioned, Ollie, you're the Cube Person of the Year for 2024, to which Ollie then not only recorded a little acceptance speech and posted it to Blue Sky, but also had a plaque made that says Lucky Paper Cube Person of the Year, and has 12 slots on it for little engraved nameplates, and only one of them is filled, and it says Ollie Davis 2024. And so now the only thing we can do, Anthony, is continue with this bit and confer this honor upon somebody that comes with exactly zero rights and privileges.
The extremely glib... Do I just get to say it? Should I just say it like in a random episode? Just... No, you want to be a little bit more serious about this now.
I think we have to argue about it if we disagree. Who do you think the Cube Person of the Year should be?
Okay, well, I have 2 nominees, I think, and also I have Ollie on the list because the bit could be that Ollie is always the Cube Person of the Year.
I'm going to veto that bit.
Okay, that's also a commitment because Ollie, then you have to play Magic for at least 11 more years.
Would be an interesting way to make sure Ollie stays invested in the community.
The Cube Person of the Year. All right, so Ollie's off the list. First, I feel like at some point we got to recognize very formally, Judge Bones is just holding this community together. Like, we've talked so much about small events. He has been the driving force between figuring out how to make those events and being just like an institutional knowledge base to share knowledge between organizers and make sure everything is working. And his commitment is incredible.
I could not agree more. Judge Bones is a pillar of this community. Should I hear all of your nominations before we discuss pros and cons for giving them the award?
No, let's hear one of your nominations.
Well, I was going to say, the only thing about Judge Bones is that was 2025 a breakout year for Judge Bones. In my mind, he's been doing this since 2023, 2024, 2025. What made 2025 Judge Bones' year?
So you're saying he's kind of a has-been? He's kind of washed?
Why this year instead of another year?
It's because his impact has really flourished. Maybe he threw the pebble into the pond a few years ago, but now those waves are reverberating and really setting the community up to be what it is.
Okay.
That's how I think of him, as a tiny pebble.
Okay. I'll be honest, I have one nomination.
Okay.
And it is Jane. I think Jane this year had the breakout cube of Cubecon in the ball pit, which was introduced basically at the very beginning of the calendar year. I think that Jane published the list for the ball pit in January, wrote a nice little article about it, a little blog post about it. Also took on running her own cube event this year and in the Northwest Cube Fest. And then I think the ball pit is something that has had already reverberating impacts on the cube design and cube community in a big way. And I think she's just been present in every possible facet. I
agree. That was my other nomination. And for that same reason that she's not just somebody who has done one thing in the cube community, but has been doing everything. She's been a force online of communicating and making podcasts. She's been a designer of new cubes that have proven to be very interesting and influential, and a event organizer. And those are kind of all the pillars of what a cube person can be. So we got 2 good options here.
2 good options. I love Judge Bones. I will never say a bad word about him. Well, I shouldn't say that. If Judge Bones if Judge Bones in the future does something cancelable or has in the past done something cancelable, I will not be held responsible. But I highly doubt that's the case. I love Judge Bones. To me, when I think 2025, I don't think, well, that was Judge Bones' year. But I do think that was Jane's year. It's probably all downhill for Jane from here, just like it was all downhill for Ollie. Ollie had a terrible year.
And all downhill for Bones, apparently.
No, Bones is going steady, and some year we'll give Bones his due.
I think we need to celebrate steadiness.
Okay.
No, I think you're right.
Do we give a new award to Bones then? We have to surprise Bones with a new and different award when he least expects it.
Okay, great. And we'll have to figure out where Ollie got this plaque.
I am actually going to text them right after this and be like, Ollie, I need to get another plaque made for 2025's Cube Person of the Year, Jane. Matthew, put in some air horns, some celebratory sound effects.
Congratulations, Jane. You are Cube Person of the Year. I'm almost going to launch into...
This comes with 0 rights, privileges, or reward of any kind.
Consider the source and credibility of this award.
And then finally, Anthony, do you want to keep making the podcast?
It's always a tough question. One thing that kind of just ties my hands is that we just promised on the last episode that we would reveal a secret in an episode in August, which means we have to be making the podcast in August.
Because we only check in once a year, we have to go until next December. We only check in once a year.
Yeah. We have to go at least until next December. So I think our hands are tied.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to keep doing the podcast. To be serious for a moment.
Yeah. How do you feel about not having to edit anymore?
I feel fantastic about not having to edit anymore. And I will say a huge thank you once again to everybody that makes that possible for me. And also, you're helping support Matthew in a job that he likes to do, editing the podcast. It's a good thing all around. This year, I think largely because we did get rid of all kinds of teasers, spoilers, set review episodes, I found myself a couple times this year being like, what should we talk about on the podcast?
That's fair, yeah.
I think which I have not felt prior And I wonder if we just, first of all, I'll own up to not having finished reading that stupid book yet, which I'm supposed to do so we can do our book club episode. That's on me. I have not finished reading the book because I hate reading, and that book's really boring me. But
wow, not holding the reveal on that one.
But well, it bored me.
You pick the next book.
I offered some suggestions last time. I will pick the next book. Maybe we should think a little more about other things we can do, like book club episodes that are tangential to this space that we are excited about. That was the whole point of not doing the set reviews anymore, was to try and put that energy to things we were excited about. And then I never read the stupid book and never finished reading it, so we haven't done the episode of that particular book review yet. But I wonder if we can do a little more of that in the coming year. And also, I want you to design a fucking cube this year, and I happen to know you are, and it's a little bit of a secret, but
it's a secret.
You need to design a cube we can actually fucking talk about on the show. Because it's been so long since you've designed or even changed any of your cubes.
It's true.
Honestly, you've become the stew of this podcast. You barely even make cubes, brother.
I'm honored to be the STU stew, to be clear, not the food.
Yes. Yeah, you're not a big soup. I mean, you're also that in a way.
That's fair. I think that we could come up with some more recurring topics that would give, because I think like the set reviews provide some structure as well, where it's like, yeah, we like do a little go off on this tangent, go off this tangent, and come back to a set review. That like makes a lot of sense for a podcast. And I think maybe those recurring subjects, like we did a couple weeks ago, just like a recap of here's the last couple drafts we did. Like people seem to enjoy us talking about playing Cube in addition to getting real heady about design topics.
It also, I mean, like, just in sheer number, was probably 15 to 20% of all of our episodes were related to a new set.
Yeah. It's a lot of episodes. I wonder if there are other ways that we can utilize the amazing resource that the Patreon is, not just of people that are contributing financially, but there are people that are very engaged. Could we just start doing some more, like, regular QA episodes, or...
You got some Qs? Send them to us. We'll give you As.
Gotta keep things sustainable. Celebrate sustainability.
And on that bombshell...
What a year.
That's the end of this episode of Lucky Paper Radio and the end of another calendar year. All the music for this show is produced by DJ James Nasty, and the show is edited by Matthew and paid for by all of our lovely patrons on Patreon. All the Magic cards are produced by Wizards of the Coast, and this podcast is produced by thinking really hard about Magic cards and speaking into microphones about it. Anthony, thank you once again for the gift of friendship and for the gift of Cube.
Thank you for another year of Cube. Sorry I'm coming unstuck in time, but hopefully I can phase back in here at some point.
When was that pandemic thing? Was that this year?
I really have no idea. It could be... it'll come back around.